Do you have a budget PC that you bought 3 to 5 years ago and you want to make your Skyrim feel like a modern RPG without burning your house down or melting your eyes with frames so low that you think you're playing Lich Doom on PS4? You came to the right place, buddy. Okay, so recently I got back to Skyrim again. Surprise, surprise, yay. And like you already know, I'm in a few of you VIPs that actually follow me for some time. My PC is a potato on steroids, so naturally I really have to watch what mods I'm installing. But if you downloaded and installed a couple of mods before, you probably know it's like a sweet dose of heroin and you can't stop, you just need more and more. After I was done in a couple of days of collecting and testing how this will work, I'm quite happy with the end result. Now I know a lot of people like to shit on Skyrim Special Edition, but in my case it turned out to be quite an upgrade from Old Dream. I'm getting way less micro stutters, somewhat higher FPS and better performance all around, not to mention more stable game with mods. So I really recommend Special Edition for everyone that has a similar configuration as mine. Getting that out of the way, my philosophy here was quite simple. First, I wanted to overhaul the combat to feel challenging and rewarding, then I wanted a lot of new weapons and armors in the game, new animations, much more content as well as old content but with some interesting twists and tweaks. You just have to sacrifice things like EMBs, more grass mods and mods that in general are quite taxing on your CPU because Skyrim is a CPU heavy game to begin with. I tried before to experiment a bit with these kind of mods, but I dropped frames quite a bit to the point that I really found the game unplayable. So I'm talking something like dropping from 45 to 50 frames on average to 30 to 35, depends on where you are and what's happening on the screen. Interiors are never the problem and I always had around 50 to 60 frames even with those heavy mods, but that's only in the dungeons and in taverns, houses, etc, etc. There is no grass in dungeons or houses. Fucking grass. So yeah, sign those off the list. Don't worry though, Special Edition is looking approximately around 2% better than old Skyrim, so there's that. Also, mods like war zones and similar mods that add bunch of NPCs at the screen at once can drop your frames a lot, so beware of those too. Like I said, I want the gameplay to feel more responsive in general. As you can see on the screen now, this is quite different experience from vanilla gameplay, but you don't lose the Skyrim feel if you know what I mean. There are some crazy things people do with their mods, but in the end I didn't want to make it look like a different game. The mods I use for the gameplay here are the following. Wildcat, Ultimate Combat, yes, they work together with no problems, you just need to turn off the time blocks in one of them. Mortal Enemies, TK Dodge, TK Hit Stop, Lock On, and 3PCO Camera mod. Those are the main mods for making the combat look like this, and animation mods of course, but more on that later. Regardless of the difficulty you choose to play on, I always recommend to allow Wildcat to manage the difficulty in MCM menu. I prefer to play on Master with this set of mods, because I find it quite balanced on this setting. I can't speak of late game still since I'm level 11 at this moment, but the flow of combat is great. You get punished for playing reckless and rewarded for paying attention. Don't think for a second that AI is dumb, they can bash your attack really easy and stagger you, they will dodge your hits, flank you when they have bigger numbers, range NPCs will find cover and they will try to keep their distance. Other small mods I use that enhance the gameplay are floating damage and Omega mod that shows you the level of the place you're entering. This complements the mod called Skyrim Revamped Loot and Encounter Zones that basically means that the difficulty will increase based on location and type. Don't get intimidated if the level number is really high, you can still probably clear it if you have a good build and you know how to use it properly, but don't expect an easy fight. When I first started modding Skyrim, I always wanted to have a minimalistic UI, but I kinda got bored of it over the years, so I wanted a good UI mod. The mod I'm using now is called Customizable UI Replacer. To get it working properly, you will need a Matter of Time mod, widget mod, that you need to convert yourself because it's not ported to Special Edition yet, but it's quite easy to do and it can be done in about 5 minutes. If you don't want to go through the trouble of converting the mod, you don't have to do it actually, it's not required, but you won't have the level icon and the gold counter icon. It depends on the preset you're choosing when installing customizable UI. You will also need SkyHUD, and Sky UI in order for this to work. You could slap iHood on top of this if you prefer it, but I'm not using it here. I could not imagine my playthrough without immersive armors and immersive weapons by Hot Trooper 44. A lot of quality armor sets in immersive armors, 55 new sets to be more precise, 60 if you count all the variants. Needless to say that all of the armors are craftable, upgradable and enchantable. You will find a lot of NPCs that use them, and you'll also get them as quest rewards, you can find them in dungeons, etc, etc. Same goes for the immersive weapons. Technically, you should not have any performance hit because none of the assets are higher resolution than the official high resolution DLC, but if you have a really old PC, something like dual-core Athlon CPU, you can actually see some notable FPS drops, since I remember that one of my friends was using it on a similar PC and he had some issues, but for the majority of people this mod won't cause any problems. Two more awesome mods that I use for weapons are Heavy Armory and Royal Armory. Heavy Armory adds around 100 new weapons. You'll find halberds, spears, glaives, etc, etc. Also highly lore friendly. Royal Armory adds really unique weapons to the important and powerful NPCs of Skyrim. This mod makes a lot of sense if you think about it, and it's cool AF. This whole section is highly optional, but animations can really change how the game feels. There is a learning curve for installing these animation mods, but it's nothing scary and in my opinion it's totally worth it. A bunch of good animation mods requires you to use a mod called Forest New Idols, or FNIS for short. This mod allows custom animations to be added to Skyrim for all behaviors. It has a generator tool, and every time you add or remove a mod that uses FNIS, you have to run it. I use just a couple of animation mods, mainly for walking, running, jumping and turning. One mod does all of that and it's called Realistic Animation Project Movement. Currently it's not available for Skyrim Special Edition, but you can convert it with a guide I will provide in the description. Player exclusive animations is self-explanatory really. It comes with different sets of animations for your character only, that you can turn on or even mix and match in MCM. And the last animation mod that I'm using is Beastly Great Sword. It adds attack animations only for the Great Swords, and it will affect all of the NPCs that use Great Sword. You don't need FNIS to use this mod, and it's also not officially on Skyrim Special Edition access, so you have to convert it yourself. Skyrim Beyond Bruma, Falskar and Helgen Reborn are the quest mods that I currently use. Don't make my word for it, but none of the new quest mods should have an impact on your performance, so feel free to add a lot of them if you want to. I stick to a few big ones because I don't want to get overwhelmed, but I sure plan to add a lot more in the future, especially for my new playthrough that I'm doing on this channel with a little personal story I came up with. It's called Samurai Khajiit and you can check it out if you're interested. Alright, so far so good. None of these mods we mentioned above are having impact on frames per second and they add a lot to the experience. I didn't mention all of the mods I'm using since there is a lot of little mods that are optional, but I covered all of the big mods in my load order. So this will be it, I guess. I hope this video helped you in some way. It was aimed at the people that have similar configuration as mine that were maybe too afraid to install heavy mods. If you have any additional questions, feel free to comment down below and subscribe for more content. See you in the next one.